Yes, we are recording now, and I'll just say at the start of the meeting that we've had apologies from John Dyson. Something's come at the last minute that he's had to attend to, so he won't be able to come to this meeting. I'll hand over to you now, Councillor Karam.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Executive Cabinet Member for Highways and Housing. First item on the agenda is monitoring of Executive Cabinet Member decisions enclosed.
Yeah, I think we've got
Any
this pretty
question?
much up to date. Officers have done a good job in keeping me informed of where they're at with the decisions, so we'll carry on in that regard. Oh, I've just got a call from Councillor Walsh, so I think he may not be able to join. So if you could just bear with me while I just take this call, just a sec. Sorry about that. Councillor Walsh is struggling to get on. He's trying his best to. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Councillor Wilkinson.
If I could just raise a couple of points, please, Chair.
Yes.
First one is my colleague, Councillor Hayes, has asked me to raise Smithers Dean Road. I understand that according to the minutes and Councillor Hayes that there is a chicane. Ward members are going to look at funding this, I believe, out of area forum money, but they're still waiting for the actual cost of it before they can make a decision. So if someone could find out how many pennies they need to put to one side. The other one is, if I could ask, is in relation to the car parking, a civil parking enforcement contractor. Do we actually have any at the moment? And after say this, as somebody who's on the outskirts of the Empire, Bolton Empire, I've never seen one for ages. And in some locations, we have now serious parking issues, which are adding to block footpaths. This is yellow lines, and serious road safety issues. So I know I've raised it. I'll be sending another email with some nice photographs. But I'm just wondering, do we have any enforcement in the outer reaches of the Bolton Empire?
Dwayne?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So, Councillor, I can answer both of those. I'll chase up the costs for you on Smithers. I'm not sure why those haven't been sent through. I know we've certainly confirmed the design for consideration by ward members, but I will chase up those costs just so they've had those. In relation to CEOs, yes, we do have CEOs, and they have regular routes, mobile routes that are enforced. So all areas within Bolton are enforced by civil enforcement officers. And if there's any particular locations, I know you did refer then that you were going to email parking services. So if you want to copy me into any emails, I'm more than happy to pick it up with parking services. But there's been no changes. Resource levels are exactly the same as they always have been. And we do have mobile routes that go around. And what we can do, the specific locations you've got concerns about, I'll be able to tell you when we last were there. I'll be able to tell you how many PCNs were issued at these locations and things like that. So we'll certainly be able to give you that information.
Thank you very much.
Any other question? No. Thank you. The second item is Department of Housing and Community Safety Strategic Budget Report enclosed. And
I think it's Catherine. Is it you, Catherine?
Yes.
It's Connie.
Oh, Connie. Sorry.
No,
Thanks, Connie.
That's fine.
Yes,
Thank you. So yes, this is the Department of Housing and Community Safety budget report for 24-25. The budget just talks you through how just talks you through how the budget is created, various budget environments and inflation rate increases. So the proposed budget is the 2.7 million. The report also mentions fees and charges. So it's proposed that the rent and eligible charges are increased by 7.7% for 24-25 in line with CPI. And the ineligible charges are increased by 6.7% in line with the benefits increase. Section 6 references the capital programme. So for housing, there's £141,000 available. appendices. So Appendix B, that is the line by line budget build that arrives at the 2.7 million. And Appendix C, the full breakdown of all the proposed fees and charges for 24-25. So this report proposes to note the revenue budget of 2.7 million, note the capital allocation for housing of £141,000 and approve the proposed rental and service charge fee increases. And any questions?
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Wash.
Thank you for that. Just on Appendix C, the fees and charges, I know this, but why have the fees for traveller site rentals not been increased? Why has everything else gone up but not that? Remains at 159.30.
Yeah. Mark, do you want to talk?
Yeah, I can come in and answer that. There's a couple of reasons, really. The first of all is we've benchmarked the fees that we were charging with other areas of Greater Manchester, and it has said that Bolton's fees were on the higher side. In fact, we were the highest of the 9 areas that we did that against. Secondly, you'll probably be aware there's quite a lot of work that's currently ongoing with the site in terms of maintenance, some challenges with that, also challenges that GMP are dealing with on the site. And so a combination of those facts has meant that we've left the site fees as they are for now, while we take various different proposals and actions forward, and then come back to look at that in the next financial year, depending on the outcome.
Do the fees received cover the costs incurred, or is there a net cost to the council?
There is a cost to the council, but that's mainly in the maintenance and repair costs, which are extremely high on the site for various different reasons. That's part of the problem that we're trying to resolve.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkinson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joe. Following on the point that Councillor Walsh just made, it's a bit easy to say there's difficulties on this site and there's costs for the council. I think it'd be useful to know what those costs are and what the difficulties are. Some of us have lingered a long while in the council, and some of us have had responsibility for various bits of it. And certain things always keep coming back to poke the council in the ribs, possibly one site in question. And I think a lot of members of the public are concerned about things which happen at this particular site. We only need to see some of the headlines in the Bolton News to have some concerns about some of the things which take place there, or alleged to have taken place there. So I would like us to be a bit more clear about A, the costs, and B, what the maintenance issues are, because it's too bland, and I think sometimes we're a bit too sensitive about coming forward with certain things.
Mark.
Yeah, absolutely agree, Councillor. I'm more than happy to bring back a report that details some of the queries that you've got for next time, if that's acceptable.
Yep. Okay.
Welcome that.
Thank you. Any other question on this? No. Oh, sorry. So
can I just be clear? That report, are you accepting a further report?
I was just going to ask that question. Are you going to add that as an additional decision today, or is that going to be an internal thing, or would you prefer it to be formally minuted?
I think if Mark is bringing report again, detailed report, then it's better to be if we delay it.
So delay the aspect on the travellers' fees and not the
no, just basically Councillor Wilkinson just want an extra information.
Yes.
So we're approving the report.
Approve this report.
And then we're just going to have Councillor Wilkinson to receive some information from Mark separate from the meeting. Yeah.
That's what it is. Councillor Wilkinson just want an extra information.
Yeah, fine.
But I would like to see it also, because I do think Councillor Wilkinson is right.
No,
I would just say that if the spokespersons could see the information, so that the question I've asked everybody
Yeah.
sees the answer, so there's no,
Yeah.
well, what was the answer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if Mark sends it to me, I can forward it on to the relevant people, and even those that weren't at the meeting, you know, who should have been
Yeah.
at the meeting.
Yeah.
But we're gonna, so just in essence, we're actually approving the report, the fees and the charges. But
Yes.
Councillor Wilkinson, Councillor Walsh, and I'll forward on to the rest of the people the information requested.
Information.
Yes, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Bromley Cross proposed various waiting restriction traffic orders.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is a detailed report that Joe, our network manager, is going to take you through.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Joanne. Morning, everyone. So I don't propose to go through the report in a lot of detail because it's quite a lengthy report, but in general, the report centres around a proposal to introduce waiting restrictions at various locations across Bromley Cross. We did receive a number of objections to the different areas. I'll just highlight two areas that were kind of sensitive. One of them was the Meadows, and we did have a large number of objections from residents to that proposal. And the other one was Montrose Avenue, which, if you're aware of the location, is near to Bromley Cross Station. So we do get commuter parking that causes difficulties for residents. So the proposal is to introduce some daytime restrictions, weekday restrictions through there to try and alleviate that issue. Members have been heavily involved in coming to an agreement on what we're going to continue to implement. So the only change to the schedule was to remove the proposed restrictions on the Meadows. So that was the recommendation. Is there any questions?
Any question on this? Mark, your hand is up for some reason.
Yep, don't know why. It's not on my screen.
Oh,
No.
Any question? No.
Can't see anybody indicating, Councillor
No.
Karam. No.
Thank
no.
you. Then report is noted and approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next item on the agenda is Highways Capital Program 2023-24 and year end.
Thank you, Chair.
Glenn?
So just as a brief introduction to this before I hand over to Malcolm, who's our design and construction manager, to take you through the report, I just wanted to recognise that I know, Chair, how important the condition of our highway network is to you and to all of our elected members. And whilst we're not able to demonstrate a significant amount of funding through the highways programme that I'm asking you to approve today, the good news is that we are entering into a 10-year cycle of funding. So we're in year 2 of that 10-year cycle, which means that there'll be a further 8 years of guaranteed funding into the highways network. And what that enables us to do for the first time in a long time is to have a longer term strategy over what roads and which of our highways assets we're able to invest in, intervene at the right period and prolong their life and improve the road condition. So it is normal that we would come to you and approve an annual programme. But what we're able to do, because we've got that guaranteed funding and we've got lots and lots of data about the condition of all of our assets, for the first time we are coming to you to approve a programme for 24-25, and we're also able to show all of our members, and because this will be in the public domain, the roads that we intend to intervene on and the bridges and structures that we intend to intervene on over the preceding 8 years after. Now, obviously, that's all of those assets will have an annual check based on our current data set and deterioration, just to maybe reprioritise some of those roads. But we are able to show, in excess of £40 million worth of investment into our highway assets over the next 9 years with this report. And I'll just pause for questions before I introduce Malcolm to take you through the detail.
Thank you, Dwayne. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but it just comes onto it a little bit. The 18 months ago, you entered a where you resurfaced, where the intent was to resurface the whole of Chorley New Road in Horwich. There's still a section that has not been resurfaced, which is from the Brasley end to the Beehive roundabout. I'm just wondering why that hasn't been resurfaced, and will it be?
Are you able to answer that, Malcolm?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. One, there's a possible works to the Beehive roundabout, and also there's a planning application for a store on the Paragon business site, both of which would come in, and if we did any resurfacing on that, it would be dug up again. So that's the main reasons.
Yeah.
Thanks, Malcolm.
No questions. Malcolm, do you want?
Yes, I'll continue with the report if that's okay, everybody. Thank you very much. Yeah, the report outlines the outturn for the previous year's spend, and also the programme for this year and for next year, and as Dwayne says, the next 8 years after that. So in different areas I'll go through. We're also looking at innovative repairs, so we're going to sign up with the local council roads innovation groups procurement system, which will allow us to look at more innovative ways of repairing roads as well. We've used the road mender system, which you might have seen, which is a mastic asphalt repair, which creates very good, durable, long-term repairs, and that seems to be working very well. And we can use those systems on the various roads as they come up. So that gives us a flexibility to use different options for procuring our repairs and resurfacing schemes. And again, we'll join in with the Stockport framework for support on professional services, which we've used up to now as well. So that's just a note to renew that framework as it's just been renewed. So table 1 gives you the outturn programme from 22-23, what we've done and what's been spent on the various capital budgets. And then the table 2 is the budget for this year and 24-25 onwards, what's known about. As Dwayne says, we know there's going to be more guaranteed funding for the future, but we don't exactly know the level at the moment. But the DFT is telling us that we need to put in for the 8 years. So we've got the challenge fund money which we've had for drainage. That's to continue to be spent at the moment, finalised now, just to finish off the drainage, which was gully replacements and things like that. Bolton Council also got money for Daisy Hill Station, which has been allowed to the bridge there, which would needed strengthening, but the reports, as you may well recall from last time, said that it did no longer require a strengthening. Network Rail did the reassessments, and we've been allowed to spend that on other key structures rather than the DFT taking it back, which is good news. City Regional Sustainable Transport Settlement provided us with £4.5 million for money for resurfacing, which we've spent and finally finished off this year. So we've used that on the main roads, which we in accordance with the grant. And I think the core maintenance fund that will carry on for 8 years. The pothole fund of 677,000 this year, we've used that on unclassified roads. And as part of the cancellation of the high-speed rail network, HS2, we got 485,000 for this year and for next year, which is actually a bit next year is a reduction because at the moment there doesn't seem to be any pothole fund for next year. So that's not come through yet, if there is one, and we're trying to determine if there will be, but there's been no indication of any such funding coming through, so that's a bit disappointing. I think other things, so the bridges and structures, they're working on retaining walls and some bridge strengthening works. That's for their future programme for the coming year. And of course, in the appendix, you'll see there's the 8-year possible programme of what we'll intend to do in the next 8 years on this work. And a similar thing with the highways. And street lighting, there we're looking at the future is mainly going to be a replacement of the older columns, like the steel columns, which are some over 40 years old now, so they're beginning to corrode, and there's potential safety issues. So there's a programme coming in for replacing those, and the concrete columns, which have been replaced over many years, but there's still quite a few of those around the borough which are to be replaced. Integrated transport budget, we get 829,000 until the end of next year, which we've used on zebra crossing, school crossing patrols. Some of it's gone to Farmer Streets for De Havilland Way Levelling Up Fund, And future things, we've got a scheme in conjunction with Greater Manchester Police to concentrate on some of the. It's a safety programme on the areas around Dobble and St Helens Road and Wigan Road to try and. There's obviously targeting certain drivers who are obviously causing a lot of problems on these schemes. There's improvements to the public rights of way network as well to bring that up to standard. As we spent quite a bit of money back in COVID times when we had safer roads, it was called, to get people to walk and activate. So it's following on from the good work that was created there. And then there's other safety schemes like pedestrians at signal junctions and things like that, which we're looking to contribute towards in conjunction with TFGM. Do you take the question from Councillor Walsh now? Or? Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you for that. First of all, we've got full details of the tenure. That's extremely helpful. And I'm not going to go through specific ones there, but paragraph 3.42 causes me some angst when it says that this is the Mayor's Cycling and Walking Challenge Fund, and it says that further schemes in Astley Bridge have been developed in conjunction. What does that up to? Because as Joe knows, we've had considerable conversations about the opportunities there or the pitfalls to it, and I'm a bit alarmed to see it now in a report as though it has been approved or gone to business case.
No,
can I have an update on that, please?
Yeah, we've still got things to go through with you on that. So that it's just to say it's on the programme basically, rather than it's the schemes have been developed fully. So not sorry for the misunderstanding on that, but yeah, we are going to come back to you and see what we can do for individual pro-gyms on that programme.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just
Councillor Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. I have to admit, I've got quite a few questions.
Yep.
Some of them might be nitty gritty, but I've got a few. I know Malcolm mentioned my favourite location, Daisy Hill. 2 questions about Daisy Hill. Obviously, the lift works start next week. Currently the station has weak areas in the footpaths, and they are barriered off with temporary barriers, which have been there quite a while now, almost becoming permanent. What is the situation with that? Because I know out of the DFT grant, some money was held back so a permanent barrier scheme could be installed. I hope that's still there, because we're getting a bit fed up with those barriers. And the other thing is, where do we stand with the bridge? And I know Network Rail have said it's safe. Yeah, famous last words as they say. Because for years, Network Rail, bad habit of being back at work, kept saying it's unsafe, you need a new bridge. We went to the DFT, we got a few million quid out of them, and then suddenly it's safe. I mean, luckily Bolton managed to get our £3 million for Daisy Hill. Where do we stand if that bridge fails, or the weak areas in the footpaths expand into the bridge? Because anybody who knows what happens in West Orton when you've got a car accident, or if someone digging a water roll, electric, all those kind of things, if you had that bridge in any shape or form restricted or closed, God forbid, this town would be up the Swanee, big style. So I'd like some assurances. What happens in case beloved friends in Network Rail come along and say, "Hey, by the way, lads, it's not that good. We have to shut it." Because you've asked the DFT, they gave you £3 million. I don't think they're going to give you another £3 million, or more, in fact, because of inflation. So just on the Daisy Hill one, if you don't mind, but I have a few more as well.
Yeah. So as I know with Daisy Hill, because I'm not the structures manager, they were going to do the reinforcement of the weakened pavement. That's to be sorted out. Now the bridge was assessed using trial holes and testing, on-site testing, rather than using calculations, and that's how they came to the conclusion that it was strong enough. Now at the end of the day, we have to take a certain amount of trusted Network Rail's professional and competence is there. Now, as you say, that's a thing we just have to take on board, I suppose, really, because there's not a lot we can do to challenge those sums and calculations and things. So we are in their hands to a certain extent, and I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I spent long enough in the railways. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I saw him in action every day. It filled me with joy, it did. Can I just ask in relation to some other bits and pieces?
Yeah.
Because we have the pothole money, and I'm really concerned that there is no government assurance at the moment about the pothole fund for next year, because this year's 677,000, and that fills quite a few potholes. That does a bit of roadworks. I mean, the backlog is so big, it literally is a drop in a pothole. The 485 from HS2, wow, that's a lot, isn't it? Given the fact we've lost 50% of our budgets over the years, but never mind, every bit's better than nothing, better than a kick in the shins, as they say. What are we looking to do with that? Is it purely we are going to fill potholes, or are we going to do sections of road? Are we going to do a few roads? I mean, that would probably do maybe 10 small roads if we're lucky, maybe 12, 15, stretching the money, or is it just going to go into potholes? Does anybody know what the average cost of filling a pothole is these days? At one time it was 50 quid. Where are we now with inflation, obviously?
The average price, and obviously, as you're well aware, it depends on the size and everything like that. It's about £76 now. Yeah. But it's something we do for the alarm survey, the asphalt industry survey every year. They ask what's the typical price of a pothole, and it's not very scientifically done, and obviously the different sizes and things like that. But again, we're looking with the 45 to use the innovative repair system, the road mender asphalt, mastic asphalt, and we're going to do potholes, patches, major patching rather than if there's a group of potholes, don't just fill individual ones, do an area. And also there's things like we're trying to this coming year 24-25 we'll look at some of the footways as well, because they're in they've not had much investment in them for a long time, as I think we're all aware. So it's to do things like that with it, really.
Can I just say I'm glad to hear we're looking at patching. This morning while I was out doing various jobs, I went past 4 locations literally within about 80 yards of my house: Greenfold Lane, Broadwalk, two locations, Sunnygarth, 2 locations, and they've all got a pothole in, and they've got a neat little white line round it.
Yeah.
And surrounding it is a sea of crumble. It's like, we've filled the hole, but 2 feet away you can see the start of another hole. It just seems crazy that we're coming back and back to these same locations. Every member must have the same kind of problem. Instead of just saying, right, we slice this section out, my 10x10 or something like that, or whatever, and try and do a more robust repair. Can I just ask about the gullies? Because obviously there's a limited amount of money, only 100k left.
Yeah.
And I have asked this question at council, and I've been told it's a year for main roads and 2 years for cleaning on residential. I can find a lot in my patch which have never seen a gully cleaner in more than 2 years, and I'm sure all members could say the same. I am concerned the way we're going. Obviously, we've had nothing but rain since last October, and that's created localised flooding in many locations. I know we're looking at a very, a very small pot considering, but I think we really need to start looking at that and taking these issues serious about silted up grids, because by the time you've dug one out, you've lost £1,000's worth of money instead of a few quid with a jet washer getting uncleaned out. I'm not sure about the bit about levelling up. So I know you briefly mentioned it, Malcolm, about Diavolon Way, but is there any progress on the bid what was made, the £20 million bid made about the four roundabouts and the traffic light idea? Is that still around, or has that died a death?
Malcolm, sorry. So it's probably best if I pick up both of those, if that's all right. So just in relation to gully cleansing, councillor, I share your concerns. There is a strategy which states that all gullies are emptied every 3 years, and we have invested in systems to be able to monitor that. But I don't think the invitation has gone out yet. But we want to bring new policy and strategy around gully emptying. The PDG will be going into your calendars in April, if it's not already, to discuss some things that we want to proactively kind of like introduce and actually have a more robust strategy into our gully maintenance. So that just look out for that meeting when it comes into your calendar. And then just in relation to the Have a Long Way, so what you're aware that we're unsuccessful levelling up funding. TFGM have just announced some further funding, which this area will be applicable for a bid. It'll be a much reduced scheme. We won't be able to go for the full scheme, but we're presently just working on some options to maybe introduce some of the as a phased approach, because there's significant Section 106 monies coming from the Rivington Chase development, which will also contribute to some improvements across those 4 roundabouts. So we are actively seeking funding, and we have working with a designer and a consultant really to look at a phased approach to see how we can bring some interventions into that area. Thank you.
Can I just say though, for officers, I'd like to say thank you to those in the business support team in Highways. I know I send quite a few things in. They probably kiss me name, but I always get a good response. I do hope that staff are being supported. When I get a keyboard warrior, I can be very polite and deal with them. But I have a feeling that some members of the public aren't very sympathetic to members of staff, either on the phone or on the keyboard, which is always easy to do when you're sat away. So I hope that staff are being fully supported, because potholes is a big issue. I know that, and I know every other elected member knows that. But I do hope that staff who are on the receiving end of some of this are being supported.
Yeah, thank you.
Just in relation to that, Councillor, it's important to note that the highway inspectors are absolutely critical. They're the ones who have planned inspections, and a lot of those planned inspections are delayed because they're called off we are getting a significant increase in requests to inspect. And it is important to know that, and I appreciate there's a lot of frustration around the condition of our road network, but it's important to know that we will only intervene at 40 millimetres deep in the carriageway and 25 in the footway. And we're getting an awful lot of requests at the moment for slight surface stripping or slight carriageway defects, which is pulling our inspectors off their planned inspections to look at things. So we have data at the moment where at least 7 out of 10, in some instances more than that, of their inspections are resulting in no action for the council. So it is important to consider those intervention levels when we are making those reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Chair. I've just got 3 questions too. Might be quite easy for you. In the 2019 funding of 1.1 million per ward, Lord Street, Peter Martin Street and John Street were identified for resurfacing and agreed. They haven't been done yet. I see some, and they're atrocious. It's outside of school. The potholes are huge. The road surface is completely deteriorated. But I see you've put some new parking bays in, which if you're going to resurface it seems kind of pointless. Where are we up to with that? Why is that scheme stalled for Lord Street? And when can we see that happen? Also in 2019, Winterhay Lane from the Crown to the town centre was banded, as in it's had these strips put in to sort of a temporary fix. They're still there, and I don't see that on your list to improve over the coming years. Just wondering when that can be repaired and improved. And then finally, to touch on what you've said about the TFGM money for the de Havilland Way. Well, instantly you fill me with dread that, again, you're going to try and push through this without listening to the public. They were overwhelmingly against the previous scheme, which probably contributed to us failing in the bid. Residents issued a number of concerns with your schemes, all of which were completely ignored, and you were pushing ahead with it. I do hope that whatever schemes you're working up for this, that you will bring the public along with you, as well as ward members. Everybody universally, locally, thought the idea of traffic lights was a poor option, and particularly around the Beehive junction, which would have caused chaos for those residents over in Claypool. I'll look forward to your comments. Thank you.
Dwayne, thank you.
Yeah, so just to come back on that, I appreciate that there was a lot of the residents were against the active travel aspects of De Havilland Way, but it is still a really busy transport corridor that we need to look at some kind of intervention and to manage the traffic that is currently on that corridor. And that's what we're going to be focusing the next few bids on, is to manage the traffic, especially in relation to all the additional traffic that's going to be coming from Rivington Chase as well. So it's not necessarily, we will try to incorporate some active travel opportunities and segregation wherever possible, but the interventions that we're planning at the moment is to better manage traffic, and certainly the congestion that's occurring across that whole corridor and the 4 roundabouts. And to answer your question, Councillor, absolutely, when we get to the point of prior to any detailed design, we will be consulting ward members on any proposals. Thank you.
Yes, and I just want to add, Councillor Grant, if any concern, please let me know. We are ready to discuss, and we'll definitely consider whatever ward members are saying and then make any decision in future. Thank you. Any more questions from you, Councillor Grant? No? You are on mute.
Sorry, just waiting for answers on the Lord Street resurfacing and Winter Hay Lane. Is that Malcolm? You would answer that?
Yeah, Winter Hay Lane, I think we were waiting basically because we've got the scheme there to close it or whatever like that. So it's that would supersede this. So it's basically keeping it usable and as best we can until that time comes up, and then when we decide what we're going to do with it exactly from that. Lord Street, I'm sorry I missed that one because I got thrown out of the meeting for some reason, but it's my computer. But
sorry, I'll just repeat it. Lord Street and Jones Street were on the original list in 2019 for the 1.1 million resurfacing. It's still not been done, but you've painted parking bays there, which is quite bizarre, seeing as the road surface is a bit of a mess. I just want to know when that's likely to be done, as the money technically is reserved for it. It's there.
I'll have to check, because I would think if it hasn't been done, it probably wasn't selected by the ward members at the time. It was on the list, but it might not have been selected. So I'll check that for you if that's okay. Yeah.
Please, Malcolm, if you can send response to Councillor Grant on this and CC me into it as well.
Yeah,
so
no problem.
I'm aware of it as well. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Wash.
Thank you. A more made reference to concrete columns and the condition of many of them. We did have a problem a number of years ago where it was the arms of the columns that were causing problems and the risk of collapsing. Have we done? Is it simply the older columns that are problematic?
Yeah, it's mainly the older ones. But I think a lot of the top arms were capped off with new arms, and it's the original concrete. It tends to spoil and peel off, things like that. So, but I think, to be honest, the bigger concern now is some of the older steel ones are corroding, and they're actually weaker than some of the concrete ones. But they're both legacies we need to deal with.
Indeed. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Any more questions? No, there is no question. So report is noted and approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Right.
Thanks
Thank
very
you,
much.
Chair.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody. See you.
Bye.